Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or kung kailan niyo naman po ito pinapanood. My name is RJ Manui and I'm going to report about Sigmund Freud's psychoanalysis theory, and my topic is all about Freud's concept of anxiety. Sigmund Freud defined anxiety as an objectless fear, meaning to say, anxiety is felt emotional, unpleasant condition accompanied by bodily senses that alerts the individual to an upcoming danger. Basically, ito po yung sinasabi na parang worry natin na pwedeng manggaling kahit saan, pwedeng internal or external, na minsan nakakapagdulot ng distress sa isang individual. According to Sigmund Freud, there are three kinds of anxiety: reality anxiety, neurotic anxiety, and moral anxiety. First is the reality anxiety. Reality anxiety, this involves a fear of real dangers in the real world. Meaning to say, ito po yung anxiety na nagagaling sa reality. Kumbaga, conscious tayo na alam natin na ganito at alam natin merong ganito. For example po, na parang takot ka magka-COVID, takot kang bumagsak sa quiz, or hindi makapasa sa exam, or hindi ka maging crush mo, alam mo yan. Yun nga, na parang itong realistic anxiety, alam natin yung specific cause kung bakit na-experience natin yung ganitong bagay. Next is the neurotic anxiety. Neurotic anxiety involves a conflict between id and the ego. Usually this happens during childhood, na kapag yung id pa lang yung meron ka at yung ego mo is bata pa. For example, lumaki ka sa authoritarian parents na kapag meron ka nagagawang mali is pinapunish ka, or something na bigla-bigla ka na lang pinapunish dahil hindi mo alam yung ginagawa mo dahil parte ng pagiging bata. Since yung ganitong experience is nag-engrave na siya sa id mo, minsan bigla-bigla na lang siyang lalabas na, for example, nakakita tayo ng isang authoritarian na tao, specifically research teacher. Yung teacher na to na parang terror, na kapag nagkakamali ka is namamalo or something, or nananakit, kung gano'n. Na parang once na na-encounter natin yung ganito, bigla-bigla na lang tayong manginginig, pinagpapawisan, yung kinakabahan, na parang napoproject yung experience natin ng childhood sa nangyayari. Na although, kahit yung tao na yun, wala naman siyang ginawa sa atin. Di ba? Parang na-express yung na-suppress na experience natin nung pagkabata doon sa tao na yun. Next is the moral anxiety. Moral anxiety results from a conflict between the ego and the superego. In the essence, it is the fear of one's conscience, shoulds and should nots. Basically, ito yung nararanasan natin na kapag inaatake tayo ng konsensya natin, or somewhat conscience breakdown, or ganun. Kung tama ba yung term ko? Yun. For example, meron kang kausap kanina na friend mo, tapos feeling mo meron kang nasabing hindi maganda. And after ng pag-uusap nyo, iniisip mo pa rin siya kung tama ba yung sinabi ko to, or hindi dapat. Na somewhat, pwede natin siyang isiping realistic anxiety, pero it is mostly concerned kung tama ba or mali yung ginawa ko. So bakit hindi siya naging reality anxiety? Kasi sino ba yung nagde-decide na kung tama o mali? Yung superego or yung morality natin? Anxiety serves as a warning to the person that something is amiss within the personality. Anxiety induces tension in the organism and thus become a drive, much like hunger or thirst. And the individual is motivated to satisfy. Anxiety permits the ever-vigilant ego to be on the lookout for indicators of danger. The warning approaching danger prompts us to prepare fight or defense. The tension that he or she has to be alleviated. Anxiety dream, for example, warns our sensor of coming danger, allowing us to hide the dream imagery better. Yung anxiety na naranasan natin, yung tension, yung drive, aggression, ang nakakaranas lang daw niyan, according to Simon, is yung ego. Kumbaga, sa madaling salita, yung ego lang yung nagsasuffer kapag nakakaranas tayo ng anxiety. Defense mechanisms are the strategies of the ego uses to defend itself against the anxiety provoked by conflicts of everyday life. There are two characteristics of defense mechanism. Number one, they are all denials or distortions of reality. Number two, they're all operate unconsciously. Type of defense mechanism is the repression. Repression, a defense mechanism that involves unconscious denial of the existence of something that causes anxiety. Repression is the most basic defense mechanism as it is implicated in all of the others. When the ego is confronted with unwanted id impulses, it defends itself by repressing them. For example, a child who was a victim of parental abuse has no memory of events yet has difficult forming relationships. Ang connection ng repression sa id at saka sa reality, mahalaga. Kasi ang id kasi meron siyang mga unwanted impulses, especially mga sexual drive. Parang gusto ng id na ilabas to, gawin ito, or whatsoever. Ngayon, ang contact sa reality is hindi natin pwedeng gawin na lang yun kasi pwedeng masama or makakapahamak sa'yo bilang isang tao. Next defense mechanism is the reaction formation. Reaction formation, a defense mechanism that involves expressing an id impulse that is the opposite of what that is truly driving the person. Basically, papakita mo lang yung opposite na gusto mong mangyari towards that person. For example, meron kang crush na lalaki. Ngayon, ang tendency para something na mapalapit ka sa kanya, ang gagawin mo, ibubuli mo siya or aasarin mo siya. Pero it doesn't necessarily mean na ayaw mo talaga siya. Pwede mong ginagawa yun dahil attracted ka sa kanya. Parang it is a way of reaction formation as a defense mechanism. Next defense mechanism is the projection. Projection, a defense mechanism that involves attributing a disturbing impulse to someone else, blaming others for unconscious tendency rather than one's own. Sa madaling salita, ito lang yung tinatransfer natin yung mga unwanted thoughts, feelings, ideas, or iba pang or something sa ibang tao. For example, merong crush na lalaki. Halimbawa na parang nahihiya akong sabihin sa kanyang direkta kung ano yung nararamdaman ko. Ngayon, ang tendency, sasabihin ko sa friend ko na, uy, siguro crush mo yun si ano no, parang yung feelings ko towards doon sa lalaki, ipoproject ko sa kanya. Next defense mechanism is the regression. Regression, a defense mechanism that involves retreating to an earlier, less frustrating period of life and displaying the usual childish behavior characteristics of that more secure time. Usually, nagagamit natin itong regression kapag napupunta tayo sa mga situations na masyadong sad or parang masyadong stress tayo na parang ginagawa natin na bumabalik tayo sa mga childish times. Especially kapag yung childish natin is maganda. Kasi bumabalik tayo sa childish time kasi doon kasi mas feel natin mas secure tayo or parang mas safe kasi parang kapag yung kabataan parang wala akong ginagawa, walang stress, gawin mo lang kung anong gusto mong gawin, di ba? Parang yun yung nagiging natin kapag sa regression. Defense mechanism is the rationalization. Rationalization, a defense mechanism that involves reinterpreting our behavior to make it more acceptable and less threatening to us. Basically, ang ginagawa natin is gumagawa tayo ng false justification in order to conceal kung ano ba talaga yung nangyari at kung ano yung result na lumabas. At helpful siya in a way na na-maintain natin yung self-esteem at self-concept natin at ma-prevent yung anxiety as well. For example, yung isang estudyante, sinisisi niya sa teacher niya kung bakit mababa yung nakuha niyang grade or mababa yung score sa exam. Pero in fact, ang totoo naman pala ay hindi siya nag-review or kinulang siya ng preparation sa pag-review. At isa pang example na halimbawa, yung isang tao na-reject siya sa date pero ginawa niya na parang sinabi na lang niya na okay lang, hindi ko naman siya talaga gusto eh. Diba? Parang yun yung sinasabi ng rationalization. Individuals prefer to credit success to their own talents and skills when presented with success or failure. whereas failures are blamed to other people or external forces. Rationalization may take two forms. A is sour grape or pretending to dislike what one really likes, and B, sweet lemon, pretending to like what one really dislikes. Next defense mechanism is the displacement. Displacement, a defense mechanism that involves shifting id impulses from threatening object or from one that is unavailable to an object that is available. Basically, ito parang i-displace natin sa ibang bagay yung nararamdaman natin. For example, late kang pumasok sa trabaho, tapos nagalit yung boss mo na, bakit ganito ganyan, bakit late ka, hindi pa nagagawa yung ano, ganito ganyan, something. Ngayon, ikaw bilang isang employee, hindi mo siya pwedeng sagutin ng ganito ganyan kasi hindi. Kasi, syempre, pag ginawa natin baka pwede tayong masisante or parang matanggal sa trabaho, ngayon i-enjoy lang natin yun. At after nun, para natin ma-release yung tension or parang galit na naramdaman natin, i-displace natin ito ngayon sa isang mas mahinang bagay na parang tayo yung superior. For example, sa mga bagay, kunyari, pag gawin mo, tinapon mo lahat ng gamit, ganito ganyan, or meron kang mga alagang hayop na yun, sinipa mo, inano mo, na kung saan doon mo nilalabas yung, doon mo ina-express yung tension na naramdaman mo kanina. Last defense mechanism is the sublimation. Sublimation, a defense mechanism that involves altering or displacing id impulses by diverting instinctual energy into socially acceptable behaviors. For example, ikaw ay ang klaseng tao na parang aggressive or medyo violent, gano'n. So parang in order na maano natin siya in a acceptable behavior, pwede kang sumali sa mga sports na more on physical anong kailangan. For example, wrestling, boxing, na parang mas nasa-satisfy yung id impulses natin at the same time, acceptable siya sa society. Diba? Isa pang example na ni si Taylor Swift. Kunyari, heartbroken si bakla, si Taylor Swift. Ngayon, ang ginagawa niya, yung imbis na mag-ano siya, sumusulat siya ngayon ng kanta na parang kino-convert niya into poetry or literature yung emotional na naranasan niya. At the same time, pwede pang maging beneficial sa kanya kasi kumagina siya ng pera, sinisikat siya at the same time yun. Tsaka sublimation is also typically beneficial to both the person and the society. Psychosexual stages of personality development. The oral, anal, phallic, and genital phase that all children go through according to Freud, the stimulation of appropriate parts of the body is required to satisfy the id instincts at this stage. The psychosexual development, Freud believed that personality develops through a series of childhood stages in which the pleasure-seeking energies of become unfocused on certain erogenous areas that must be resolved before the infant or child can progress to the next stage. If these psychosexual phases are properly accomplished, a healthy personality emerges. Fixation can arise if certain issues are not addressed at the proper time. Fixation refers to the condition in which a portion of libido remains invested in one of the psychosexual stages because of exertive frustration or gratification. First stage is the oral phase. During this stage, the infant is totally dependent on the mother or caregiver who's become the primary object of the child's libido. In more familiar terms, we might say the infant learning in a primitive way to love the mother. However, the mother responds to the infant's demands, which at this time are solely in id demands, determines the nature of the baby's small world. Oral phase infused first in fetal stage, the development, since the mouth is the first organ to bring pleasure to the child. The mouth cavity provides life-sustaining nutrition for infants, but they are also get pleasure from sucking. Ito po yung point of gratification is more on nasa oral po, kapag nasa oral phase. There are two ways of behaving during this stage. First is the oral incorporative behavior or taking in. The oral incorporative mode is the first to begin, and involves pleasurable mouth stimulation from other people and food. Adults who are fixated on the oral incorporative stage are engaged with oral behaviors such as eating, drinking, smoking, and kissing. Next is the oral aggressive or oral sadistic behavior, biting or spitting out. If concentrated at this level, oral conduct, whether violent or sadistic, is prone to extreme pessimism, hatred, and aggression. They are prone to argumentative and sarcastic, making supposedly sharp remarks and rude to others. They are envious in others and try to use manipulate in them, or in order to gain power over them. Anal phase. This situation changes drastically around at the age of 18 months when a new demand toilet training is made to the child. Freud believed that the experience of toilet training during the anal stage had a significant effect on personality development. Dito po yung point of gratification ng bata is lilipat na po sa anus. Toilet training is a major source of conflict at this stage. The kid must learn to regulate his or her physical demands. Gaining control leads to the sense of success and self-sufficiency. If toilet training fails, he or she may lay the groundwork on a variety of aggressive sadistic behaviors in adulthood, such as brutality, destructiveness, and emotional outbursts. Such a person is inclined to be disorganized in regard to other people as possessions. Next is the phallic stage. The phallic stage is the third stage of psychosexual development in Freudian psychoanalysis, ranging from the ages of 3 to 6 years, during in which the infant libido or desire is focused on the genitalia as the erogenous zone. Dito po yung point of gratification is lilipat na po sa mga genitals ng mga bata. Children at this age start to notice the distinction between males and girls. He or she becomes a competitor for the attention of the opposing sex parent. The Odypus complex in boys. It concerns a 3 to 6-year-old boy getting unconsciously sexually connected to his mother and being opposed to his father who he views as a rival. So to the castration anxiety, fear of genital loss or harm, the multiple losses and deprivation experience of the boy throughout the pregenital phase started in Freudian psychoanalytic theory may give rise to the anxiety that he may lose his penis. Next is the Electra complex for girls. Electra complex, the unconscious urge of a girl to her father followed by a wish to replace his envy, is when a female feels envious of a man because he has a penis, which followed by a sense of loss since she lacks one. Next is the latency period. The storms and tensions of psychosexual development, oral, anal, and phallic stages provide basic material from which adult personalities are formed. Around the age of 5, the three primary structures, the id, ego, and the superego, develop, and links between them are establishing. Latency period, the period from approximately age 5 to puberty, during in which sex instincts is dormant, sublimated in school activities, sports, and hobbies, and in developing friendships with members of the same sex. Dito po, yung sinasabi mga sex urges is masosuppress at yung interest po ng bata is mapupunta na po sa social interaction at the same time sa development and to utter puberty. The genital stage. The genital stage is a final psychosexual stage of development, begins at puberty. The body is becoming physiologically mature and is no major fixations that occurred at an earlier stage of development. The individual may be able to lead a normal life. The individual develops a strong sexual desire in the opposite sex throughout the last stage of psychosexual development. This stage starts puberty and lasts throughout the entirety of one's life. The importance of childhood. Early childhood years are crucial in shaping adult personality according to Sigmund Freud. The first 5 years are critical, the conflicts to which we are exposed and which we must cope before many of us have learned to read, form, and others become how we behave, think, and feel.